All right, let's do this live show for March 30th. And I'm going to go fix something in the background that I meant to do before I got started here. So bear with me. You can watch me as I do this. I don't mind, but there's something in the background that is really getting to me. And I noticed it when I was recording the video for this Friday's episode. And I didn't fix it, but I'm going to fix it right now. So all of you, just keep calm, talk amongst yourselves. You'll be able to see me when I'm doing, but just sit tight. This is bothering me. This. All right. Okay. I don't know how it got like that in the first place. Okay. All right. Okay, that's a little better. It just looks so cluttered back there. All right, that looks a little better. Okay. How's everybody doing? I should have done that before I started. What are you going to do? Okay. It was a beautiful Wednesday here in the Clearwater Beach area. Little windy today. Yesterday, perfect. Went and played disc golf. Played very well. Didn't win at the doubles, but played pretty good, or pretty well. Horrible English. But it was very calm yesterday. Today, same exact conditions. If you looked out there, it seemed like it was the same sky, same temperature, but it was like 20 mile per hour winds. It's weird how that works. And they were coming from the southeast. And so we were getting a really good breeze going along that side. And I could hear like a little whistling, these sliding glass doors that I have here are not, I mean, they're old, but you could hear a little whistling coming through them. So I could tell when that is going on, there's some severe wind happening on the west side of the building, which is over there. And it was pretty good. Pretty good breeze going on there. Otherwise, it was beautiful. I did do a little food shopping, so I was out there. And even going across the causeway, little bridge, and then coming back, when you got up there, you could feel your car could feel the wind moving my car around a little bit, more than probably I could have ever expected. Other than that, though, it was an absolutely beautiful day. Not a lot of people out on the beach today, unlike yesterday, maybe because of the wind. I don't know, but pretty nice. As I'm getting started here, what do I always tell all of you? Please give this live show a thumbs up. Yeah, I know that little piece. I'm starting to put it at the beginning of all the videos, asking everybody to subscribe, of course, with the little button right there. If you could do that, of course, that would be deeply appreciated. But I know sometimes people don't want to give a thumbs up to the video until they watch it for a little bit. And that's why with recent videos, I've started put that little 23-second trailer on the videos. But when it comes to this live show, it's going to be good. So just give it the thumbs up right now. You do it now. You can forget all about it. Just give the thumbs up right now and everybody will be happy. Okay. You won't leave the show tonight and it'll be like 11:30 or midnight. You'll be there in bed and you'll be like, oh, dang, I forgot to give Ed's live show a thumbs up tonight. All right. So to avoid that, just do it right now. That would be appreciated. So who is in here? Moana got in first. Well, welcome, Moana. How are you? Then Sheila gives a little hi. I see you. There's a little hi. K-Dog. There's K-Dog. Doing some cleaning tonight, K-Dog. I hope you're well. Charlotte, Twinkle, Jasmine, Karen. Everything coming in from Australia. Wow, we may have, maybe if the reel shows up as well, we might have a couple people from Australia here tonight. That would be cool. Hello, Kathy, Twinkle, Cherie with the blue and the badge, moderating tonight. Hello, LaFord. Everything again, Twinkle, LaFord. Okay. And some of you that have the gray names, you may be wondering, why is my name gray and Twinkles and Kathy's and LaFord's names are all in green? Well, I'm going to tell you. And what is that little sign, that little thing they have beside their names? Well, they are members on this channel. And if you'd like to be a member of this channel, there is, we see the little subscribe button. I think it's right here, or is it over here? I can never get confused if it's like the mirror image or whatever. But down in this corner, you see that little subscribe thing. Well, down right around here, you see the join button. That's how they got the colored names. They get some special things that I upload for them. In fact, I just did an update for them, for members, right before this live show started. So if that sounds like something you would be interested in, hit the join button. It's not automatic. What happens when you hit the join button, you will get to see a little list of things that you get for joining, and it'll give you the cost. Just because you hit the join button doesn't mean you're automatically enrolled. Hitting the join button will bring you to another screen where you can check it all out before you make a decision. I just want to tell you that. You don't have to worry about anything if you automatically hit the join button. But that's something that you should think about. And there you can see LaFord, who has actually been having a few problems with it, but we're trying to sort those out. But still, she says it's worth every penny. I say I agree with her, although I'm biased. Thank you, LaFord. K-Dog says, yes, always cleaning. Thank you for the work you do. I'm sure you're doing a great job there, K-Dog. And I hope you and your husband are doing well. Although I did see that my Penguins beat up on your Red Wings a few nights ago. Penguins scored 11 goals on them. What was up with that? And K-Dog, hubby liked the sunset picture that you posted the other day. I love posting those sunset pictures, not to rub it into everybody, but yeah, they are special. Every one of them is very special, K-Dog. Thank you for pointing that out. Once in a while, like I said, I start posting them on my Facebook personal account. People will think I'm like rubbing it in or something. I'm not trying to do that. It's just once in a while when I see a sunset that I think is unique, because I get to see it every day, I will take a picture of one. K-Dog says, yeah, that was bad. Yeah, the hockey game. Yeah, that was, and I'm not even that big of a hockey fan, but I did see that score and I was like, did the Red Wings even show up? What was going on there? Cult of Bunny. Well, that's an interesting name. I think you must be new, Cult of. And you're in Florida as well. Well, where are you at, Cult of? I'd love to know. And Shree says, Deborah, thank you for joining. Yes, Deborah, thank you. See, Deborah, now everybody's seeing that little gray square. Deborah has decided to join the channel. And some of the things that you get by becoming a member at this channel, you get the Friday episodes a day early. Not only do you get them early, but you get the video version of them early. So all of you members, you'll be getting that tomorrow. It's just about done. Not everything is done for Friday's episode, but just about. You get the Unfound Now episodes, those monthly episodes that I do. That one's done. It's coming out tomorrow, and you get it a week before the public gets it. You also get the weekly updates from myself. So I think those are some kind of nice things that you get for the low, low price of $2.99 a month. So Deborah, thank you very much. Once again, if you're interested, just hit the join button right down there. Cult of says Cocoa Beach. You know, Cult of, I've not ever been there. I know it's over on the Atlantic side. Really, the only places I've been to on the Atlantic side, Cult of, at least as an adult, have been Daytona Beach And then just a few weeks ago, I was down in the Miami area at Florida International University. But thank you for tuning in, Cult of. Your name is not familiar to me, so I'm maybe guessing this is your first live show. And if so, I hope I don't let you down. Yeah, everything coming in from Australia. So yeah, I got to play some disc golf yesterday. Did not play with the club on Sunday. And I'm going to just be honest with you. I really have not felt like getting up early recently. I've been going to bed late, as I usually do, 1:30, 2 in the morning. Not necessarily just lying around, but doing unfound work late into the night, like last night. And then to go to play disc golf on Sunday morning, I have to get up at like 8:30. And that's not happening. So instead, I've chosen to go to the doubles that they have over at Taylor in the evening. It starts at 5:30 in the evening, which is more my style. Maybe I'll make it this Sunday. It's just tough for me to get up early in the morning. It's just that was probably, among other things, that was one of the tough things to do when I was up there with my dad for 38 days, because he is a early to bed, early to rise. I'm a late to bed, late to rise. And it did cause a few conflicts here and there. But maybe I should be getting out to play more, because I played well yesterday. So I should probably get out there and play while I'm playing well. Moving on, cooked a little bit of chicken wings on Saturday. I cooked half of them on Saturday, and then I cooked the other half on Monday. This is the first time this year that I cooked them, and it's been a while, maybe early December, if not back into November. Of course, I wasn't here for 38 days, so that probably has at least a partial reason. But they came out fantastic. I haven't lost, even though I hadn't made them for about 3 months. Did not lose any skills whatsoever. They came out fantastic. Love them. I wish I could make them all the time. But chicken wings, they really have not gone up in price. They're just harder to find now due to all these supply issues that we're having. But usually when I get chicken wings, for what is it? For 16 wings, it's about $19, $20. And that's what they were last year, and that's what they were just recently. So I don't know if there's an inflation going on there or not. Maybe I was getting like 20 wings back then, and now it's only 18. I don't know. I really didn't pay that much attention, but it's about the same price. Although I have, like all of you, I've recognized that a lot of things have gone up in price. But I did get wings, cooked them up. It went well, and it was good. It was good. There's something special about being able to make them. And I'm telling you, I make them better than anywhere I could ever buy them at a restaurant. Not to brag. Maybe some of you, if we ever meet or something, maybe I'll cook up some wings or something like that, so you can test my skills. Let's see what's going on in here. I was addicted to trefoil. I don't know what that means. Unfortunately, Cult. Maybe I should know it, but maybe you can explain that a little bit more. Hello, Jill. There you are, Jill. And Boston's in. Hello, Boston. All of you green people. The real. We have another Australian in the chat room tonight. Maybe you two need to talk back and forth to each other. Everything there she is, or he is. Everything 2020. Both of you are from Australia, so thanks for tuning in. It's so crazy. Jill says trefoils are Girl Scout cookies. There you go. I've been following you a long time. Thank you, Kaltov. I appreciate that. Trefoils are Girl Scout cookies. I didn't know that. I got to be honest. I can't remember the last time I had any Girl Scout cookies. Certainly not here since I moved to Florida, I don't think. I know that I've never bought any Girl Scout cookies because I've never really lived in a place where Girl Scouts could come and knock on the door. But maybe I had some like when I was at Star Trek, if somebody brought them in. So maybe that's why I don't realize what all those different kinds of cookies are called. I know what they look like. I've seen the boxes of them and everything, but that's about it. But I know that I've eaten them at one time, and I think they're good. There's a whole, of course, peppermint and all that. But I didn't know that one of them was called trefoils. Okay. Everything says I'm in North, the real, I saw that. Hi, fellow Aussie. No, a trefoil is Adidas logo. Huh. Okay. Now I'm really confused. Okay. I'm in old where all the good rugby league players are from. Got the Australians talking back and forth. I love it. Spectacular. Okay. Well, Kaltov, thank you for joining in. And you Aussies, thank you for making time down in the land down under. I see that Men at Work are on a tour right now with John Waite and somebody else, and I think they're here in the United States somewhere. And that's not really a concert I would ever go to. I have no problems with their music or anything, but that somewhere they're touring in the United States somewhere. I must have seen something on Facebook or somewhere about that. All right, so disc golf, chicken wings. And so I guess I have to talk about this. Thank you, Crystal. Yeah, everybody hit the thumbs up button as you are watching tonight. I guess I'm going to talk about the slap. You know how I venture off into pop culture issues on this show. I can't ignore it. Of course, I've mentioned, what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. I try to stay out of the politics of it and all that. But I got to talk about the slap. And I will give you, and I know most of you who are in here are women, and I know a lot of people have been talking about it since Sunday, but I do have, I think, my unique perspective on this that I've not heard anyone voice anywhere. And I've gone to TMZ.com. I've gone to the major media sites regarding it. I've gone on Twitter and see what a bunch of different famous people are saying about it. And what I'm going to say is something that I don't think, maybe somebody has said it. I've just not seen it. Okay. I'm not going to say that I've checked every person who's commented on it. I'm probably 1 billion people have commented on it at this point. But I will tell you this. You also have to remember, this is coming from a guy who I've been single for 99.99% of my life. I've had girlfriends, or women friends, gone on plenty of dates. When you're 51 and you're single, I'm not saying that that's special or anything, but if you get to be 51 years old and you're still single, it stands to reason probably that you've gone out on a few dates in your life with different women, in contrast to maybe somebody who got married at the age of 25. Let's just say, it's just the way it works out. And so this is coming from a guy who for most of his life has really never, and I've never been in a situation where, that like what happened on Sunday night. And I'm not going to get into what, Chris Rock, did he know this? Did he know that? But I can tell you from a straight guy's perspective that something that is a kind of a scenario that I think goes through every man's mind. What am I going to do if some guy makes fun of my girlfriend, of my wife, of my kids? What am I going to do? I think it has to. If you are, unless you're so self-centered that you just only care about yourself, but if you really care about that person you're with, it should go through your mind. And Although once again, I've never been in that position in my life since Sunday, I've really tried to, you know, analyze it, even though once again, I've never been in that position, but still I can tell you that in my life, I have thought about that situation. What is the right thing to do? And as a guy, it's almost like you're putting yourself, not saying the woman in your life is putting you there, but you're putting yourself in kind of a no-win situation. On one hand, if a guy is talking trash about your lady, your first instinct is to do something about it. That doesn't mean you should. But I think for most guys, that is going to be their first instinct. But I think we also know if you do that, you are asking for trouble. Now, is Will Smith going to get in trouble? Probably not. Maybe they're going to take his Oscar away, but he's not going to jail, or, I don't think that there's only going to be any fine or anything like that. I'm not saying there shouldn't be. I just don't think that's going to happen. But for the average guy, probably would. If this were a bar in every town USA and a guy's in there with his wife and some guy says something about her and that guy, John Smith, goes over and smacks Dan Brown, there's going to be a bar fight. John Smith is going to be the instigator of it. He's going to get in trouble. The police are going to show up. He's going to go to jail and everything else. That's how it would normally work. Now, and he would probably be wrong in doing that. Okay. I'm a believer that when, angry statements are made, that they should not be met with violence. However, as a guy, that's tough to do. On the other hand, you realize maybe rationally, if I do this, I'm going to get in trouble. On the other hand, if you don't do anything, then you start wondering about, well, what is my significant other going to think of me if I don't? And as Cherie is saying, she's saying, that she would be embarrassed. And see, this is kind of where I'm going with this. That once again, I'm just speaking for guys. I'm not speaking for women or gay relationships or anything like that. I'm just speaking for straight guys. That there is a part of us that thinks, well, if I don't do anything, how is she going to feel about that? Is she going to think that I don't love her and all of this stuff? And so as a guy, you're kind of put in this very difficult position. You don't want to seem like a wimp to even though that may not be what she is thinking, but it's what you're thinking. Likewise, you don't want to go to jail, beat this guy up and then end up in the poorhouse. If she's your wife, she's going to lose her stuff too, because they're going to, combine finances. You're going to get taken to civil court and everything else. So I've had a chance to think about this, and here's what I'm trying to say that I don't think anybody has said that I've read or anything so far, or I've seen. To the men out there, if you are dating a woman, now if you're married, I can't help you. I can't help you. But if you're dating a woman who would expect you to go to jail for her, you should dump her right now. If her ego, her pride, and everything is more important than your freedom, you should dump her. That's as easy as a way as I can put it. If she is more concerned about herself and how she looks to other people, and some guy saying to her, and she's worried about, looking bad, or is her ego, her pride, and everything is that shallow that she would expect you to go over there, hit this guy, probably end up in jail, then you should dump her. Okay? That she would rather have her ego protected and you be in jail than her just be bothered for a little bit and you be free is a problem. that is going to eventually cause problems in your relationship even more than some guy making fun of her or whatever else. That's really the only way I can put it. That is the way I think about it. And I'm not here to get in. I wasn't watching when it happened. I've seen recordings of it. I know that he laughed at the joke and then he got all serious and all of that. I, like some of you are writing here, I thought that it was staged. Of course it wasn't. I thought Chris Rock handled it in the best way that he could. I've now read that the Academy had after this happened, tried to get Will Smith to leave, and he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't leave. And then later he gets the Academy Award, which to make the night even crazier. But all I can say is, for you guys out there, if you think that you are dating, like I said, if you're married, I don't know what you can do at this point. But if there is no contract between the woman you're with and you right now, and you think that if in that situation that your woman would expect you to go over, hit that guy, and risk going to jail, you should dump her right now. That she would rather have you in jail than be free is telling. So, that's really all I have to say about it. I know it's it's difficult for us guys. What would have happened had it not been Chris Rock, but Amy Schumer, who was one of the hosts? What if she would have said something about Jada Pinkett Smith, made the same joke? Would Will Smith gone up and slapped her? Or as the joke is out there, what if Mike Tyson would have been hosting or made that joke up on stage that night? Would Will Smith have gone up and slapped him? But just for all us, common people out here, us middle-class people who don't live in mansions and don't drive Rolls Royces and actually expect that if we were to do something like that, that we would get in trouble. I would tell all the average guys out there in your relationships, dump the woman in your life if she would expect, since Sunday, if your woman has said to you, you know what, if some guy ever said that about me, I would expect you to go over and punch him, do the same thing that Will Smith did. You should dump that woman tonight, or whenever you're watching this video, you should dump her right now. Because it's obvious that her well-being is more important than the overall well-being of your relationship. For sure. Because I can, if you want to switch this, change it around. If I'm dating a woman and some woman says something about me, or maybe, I think this even kind of come up when it has to do with Unfound. If you go around to enough sites and things, you'll see some people have written some horrible things about Unfound. And I know many of you have brought this up to me, and I know that many of you have come to the program's defense, to the podcast defense, to my defense, and I appreciate all of it. However, I would say, you know what? You just got to let it go. I would never encourage any of you listeners to, you see something written bad about Unfound or myself to go and try to defend me. You don't have to do that. I can handle it. Like I said, I don't read reviews anyway. The programs, the podcast, the program, the episodes, they're going to get done no matter what the reviews are. So the thing switched around. If there was a woman who, yeah, sure, Sheree. Thank you, Sheree. If a woman out there somewhere were to make fun of me, would I ever expect the woman in my life? Now, I don't have a woman in my life, but theoretically, I would never expect her. I would just not even be in my mind. It would just not. And if she wanted to, I'd be like, what? I'd be like, honey, you got to let it go. It's never going to be worth it. You just can't let people, you can't allow people to know what your buttons are. Because once people know what your buttons are, they're going to continue to push them. So that's, as a guy, that's how I look at it. I'm going to say it one more time if the men out there did not catch what I'm trying to say here. If you are dating a woman who would expect you in a bar, at an Academy Awards ceremony, at a baseball game, at trivia night, at the pool, at the beach, at a restaurant, anywhere, if she would expect you to go after some guy who said something derogatory about her, and it was like, well, you're either going to do that or else, you need to dump her right there. Right there, boom, goodbye. I'm totally serious. It's not worth it. It's certainly not worth it. Because she is thinking more about herself than she is thinking about your relationship. And relationships don't work that way. Even as a single guy, I know that. So that's my attitude. Guys, don't put up with women who try to extort you like that or blackmail you. Whatever the proper word is. Let's see what everybody's saying here. Was it real or fake? It was certainly real. When I first thought it was fake, LaFord, he worried, no worries. Me is sure at the Academy Awards, they should be held to a higher standard. Well, they should be, but Shri says, I would be absolutely embarrassed if my husband behaved like that. Comedians are going to tell jokes. If everyone was allowed to assault someone offended, it would never end. That's right. At least here in the United States, we have freedom of speech. I know in a lot of other countries, it's different. Moment was overshadowed by his marriage problems. Stitching. Hello, Stitching. Good to see you. Thanks for joining in, Stitching. Hello, Christy. What's up with you? Hi to you. It upset me so much because I always like Will Smith. LaFord, right, Charlie? I agree. I would be horrified. Julie, I still think it was for ratings. One of the few, though, Holly Weird was trying to get people to watch the Oscars. I just think I think he just totally lost his mind. I don't think it was planned or anything else. LaFord, what are you saying is exactly what Howard Stern said, just not as delicately. Yeah, I'm not saying I don't understand it, but Chris Rock is paid to tell jokes that this is not a bar. My first impulse was he could have been busted out with, isn't she lovely? Twinkle, I wouldn't be embarrassed. I would worry that he's going to get in trouble over me. I would appreciate his love for me and try to help him deal with the situation. Now, Jasmine, yes, defend, don't fit if not needed. Don't fight if not needed. LaFord, well, you're teaching your son well, LaFord. Good for you. Julie, I heard the media was going to do something to do about the ratings a couple weeks ago. She got mad at the joke. Chris is more of a man than me. Easily, we'll start him as fallen. Charlotte, yes, Chris was bigger man in this. The Real says, here in Australia, we saw the uncensored version before either U.S. did, because that kind of language doesn't have to be beeped out over here. Yeah, you're very fortunate, The Real. Like I said, I was not watching it. I just caught wind of it. Must have been after the think tank. Boston, I don't think I could have maintained my composure like he did. And Chris shows have doubled in price. I'm very happy for Chris Rock. I think, I've seen Chris Rock. I've never seen him in concert. He's not even my type of comedian, but I did see the comedians and cars getting coffee that he did with Jerry Seinfeld. And that particular one, they got pulled over for speeding. I thought Chris Rock came across, he just doesn't do, two comedians getting together. Seems like a good guy. Whereas to me, I got to tell you, Will Smith has always seemed strange to me. I know that he's a huge box office guy and all that. I don't know. I never watched The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I just thought he has always come across as being strange. Jean from Paris, the city of lights. Wow, here nothing would happen to Smith. He's seen as a hero. Well, I don't think anything's going to happen to him here over across the pond either, Jean. Christy, I was with a guy in my dating age that got in a bar fight in front of me. Oh my God, scared the crap out of me. It would be worth a quiet word with a person, I think, just not a slap in the face. Charlotte says Will's not a hero anymore. I have a whole new outlook on Will Smith. Julie, she was bragging about alopecia and how beautiful she was. Hello, Jay. Glad to see you dropped in here a little bit ago, but glad to see you're still around. I am still around. The Will Smith thing, can't say whether it's real or not, but it sure says something about entertainment in USA. Yes, I guess. Boston, I worked with Chris in Grown Ups too. He was a good guy and very friendly. Look at you, Boston. Wow. I'm impressed. Shad Shree says, I've always been a Chris Rock fan. Yeah. So it's certainly got people talking. I don't know if it'll increase the ratings for the Oscar next year. We'll just have to see. But I certainly don't want comedians starting to get assaulted. My personal opinion is we already have, too many things going on in that area with words that can be said, can't be said, and all of that. I realize there's some things that are out of bounds, but if we can't start making fun of each other just because that's what comedians do, then I start thinking of that line by Robert Plant. Was it in The Song Remains the Same, the movie, or one of their live concerts where Robert Plant, does anyone remember Laughter? That's what I start thinking. Now, granted, was the joke that Chris Rock told funny? No. I think it went over most people's heads. But still, that shouldn't matter. Christy says, he slapped him hard. I couldn't believe Chris was still standing. I'm going to get to that in a second, Christy. Julie, if he could have ended up a big accident with someone really hurt if the fell backward, I'm going to, yes, right. You know what? No one is talking about that Will Smith won his first Oscar. Yeah. Well, he has only himself to blame for that. We've had a few fisticuff moments in the history of Australian television, to come think of it. Charlotte, I stopped watching them when they started with all the wokeness. We're not getting into that. Charlotte, right, Cherie? Julie, yes. And Christy brings up, Julie brings up something very, very important, is that you watch enough YouTube videos regarding bar fights, like surveillance cams of bar fights. It's usually, if people get into a bar fight, it's usually not the punch to the face or something that does somebody in. It's the falling and hitting the back of the head. That's where people get in trouble. That's where the problems start, because this is much more dangerous than this. But if you hit somebody, knock that person out, and they're unconscious as they're going back, and they hit their head, you'll kill that person. And there have been mainly men who have gone to jail because they got into a fight, didn't mean to kill the guy, but they punched the guy, hit him here. And what happens is the jaw moves and there's like a nerve that sends like a shock to the brain. And that's why, if you didn't know that, that's why people get knocked out. You get hit in the jaw and there's a nerve that it hits, goes straight to the brain, freezes everything. You go unconscious. You're totally, you don't know what's going on. What happens? You go back and hit your head and you go into a coma and then you die. And there have been many, many men who didn't mean to kill the guy, who really maybe didn't even mean to hurt him that bad, who went to jail because of that. And it doesn't matter if they intended to do that or not. It's enough to just punch the guy that he died, that you'll go to jail for a while. And a lot of guys with no prior criminal records, no history of violence, nothing, have had that happen to them. It's not worth it. Now, if that person attacks you first, that's different. But these ego battles, once again, you can go right here on YouTube. You can see a lot of bar fights where people have died, not from a gun, not from a knife, but just to a punch to the face. It's not worth it. It's different if it was self-defense. What Will Smith did was not self-defense. He was nobody, neither he nor his wife or anybody else in that crowd was going to be harmed in any way. And I'm sure if nothing had happened on Sunday night, if Will Smith had not gotten up and done that, that we would have totally forgotten about the Chris Rock joke by this time. Why would we forget about it? Because it wasn't that funny. So you just can't act on these things in the moment. And that's why, especially us guys, you got to watch this stuff. You cannot be baited into this, because what could start as, something where, your ego is being challenged and everything, you end up behind bars for years. It's not worth it. It's not. And I'm going to say it one more time. And if you're with a woman who thinks it's worth it, you need to dump her. Do it right now. Let's see. Christy, holy crap, never thought of that. Can't imagine if Chris died. Yeah, well, what if that would have happened right on camera? Now, granted, Will did not punch him. But if he slaps him, Chris trips over his feet, boom, onto the stage. That's it. And they would have had it all on camera. And then I would hope that Will would have been brought, would have been taken into custody. Should be. Jay, yeah, there are even hard, friendly punches I've seen that in social situations and don't get it. Yeah, a girl from my town sustained a head injury from one punch in the local bar. She died from it something like 18 minutes later. That happens all the time. All the time, the real. Charlotte, slap to the face to a man from another man is a very big insult. What is? Easily had a friend that died 3 weeks ago from falling on his face, breaking his neck on a garage floor. Yep. Stephanie says the footage of the slap is hard to watch, honestly. Just, I don't know. It's also so weird. Men defending women here don't slap men. They punch them usually. Yeah. We used to, we used to have dueling here in the United States. Of course, given that everybody except me has seen Alexander Hamilton, the musical, I think everybody now knows that Alexander Hamilton died because he was challenged back then and with Aaron Burr, and that's how Alexander Hamilton eventually died. He got shot in a dueling because somebody's pride was hurt. There's a reason we don't do that anymore. There's a reason. So, yeah. So I just wanted to say that about that. That's my take on it. I would dump any woman who would expect me to do that. I know what I'd do. She would say, "Are you going to take that?" I'd say, "Oh, you want me to go punch this guy?" And she'd say yes. I'd say, "You know what? You go do it." That's what I would say. No. All right. Let's move on. Let's go to the items for this show. Jay says the famous duel of 1804. I remember that, Ed. Yes. Great book on that, Burr and Hamilton. Yeah. That's how Alexander Hamilton died. He was challenged. He had allegedly said something that was untrue or wrong or dirty about somebody. Aaron Burr challenged him to a duel. They went out there. Alexander Hamilton got shot and eventually died. Now, I'm not saying we should still have dueling. What we need are everybody just needs to have thicker skin and realize that just because somebody says something about you doesn't make it true. And just because your feelings are hurt doesn't mean that's right or wrong. It's just your feelings. Whereas, what was it from Shakespeare? There is no good or bad. Only thinking makes it so. All right. Let's move on to this. As we usually start when we get to the items in this live show, the Kimberly Wilson tally poll. And the question was, is Kimberly if she is deceased, are her remains in Pennsylvania? Are the remains in Ohio? Or are the remains somewhere else? Overwhelming number of you said that yes, they are in Pennsylvania. I think that makes a lot of sense, given that seemingly she was in the car with Delmar and they got photographed at a toll in Pennsylvania, and Kimberly's sister is still laboring to find out where that picture was taken and what date at what time. And I'm hoping she eventually can find that out. No, in the think tank, we really didn't get into that so much. We were talking more about Kimberly's, the cancer that she had. How bad did it sound, and how exactly what everybody thought about how it actually went down. Of course, I don't think anybody doubts that Delmar knows exactly what happened to Kimberly, but what exactly was, if he did it explicitly, then what was the reason? And what I will tell you, I did write a blog on this, and once again at patreon.com/Unfound Podcast, that eventually I came to the conclusion that probably did it over money, given that he went and sold her car, tried to sell her at the dealership, and then actually sold it to an acquaintance. That tells me that he was using Kimberly as a meal ticket. Maybe he found out that she was not going to be surviving her cancer, and then he found out, oh, I'm not going to get your stuff when you die. Okay, well, you're going to die anyway, so I'm going to do something to you, and then I'm just going to take your stuff. Makes a lot of sense to me. No proof of that, but that was the conclusion that I came to. And once again, if you'd like to read what I have to say about all of the episodes that Unfound has covered going way back to 2017, unfoundpodcast@gmail.com. Now, where did I put that? Let me see. Hold on one second. Here we go. Next item I want to talk about. So that was the Kimberly Wilson tally poll. And thank you, everybody that listened to it. And for those of you who might have watched the video, me interviewing Kimberly's sister, I hope you enjoyed that little bit different viewpoint. And we're going to continue to do those. And in fact, this Friday's episode will also be available as a video, me interviewing this Friday's guest on Zoom. And maybe some of you want to think about taking in Unfound that way. Maybe. Or maybe you want to do both. You want to listen to it and then you want to watch it. Or you want to watch it and then you want to listen to it. It's your choice. You now have choices here at Unfound. Christy says, I've never met a woman. Wait, hold on. Let me go back up here. I apologize. Shashri says, it's also so weird. Men defending women here don't slap men. They punch them usually. Wow. If yes, so true. Jay says, I caught it in the Japanese uncut version. Yeah, there are certainly a lot of uncut versions out there. Christy says, I've never met a woman who would expect that. Christy, then I got to tell you, just going a little bit through Twitter and even some of my Facebook friends who are women said that, yeah, that's what a man is supposed to do to protect his woman. So they are out there. I don't know what percentage it is, but it's enough of percentage that it's not a percentage that can be ignored. And I get it. This is old fashioned. This is the way men were supposed to be and everything. I think that's all made up. I don't think, assault in 2022 is the same as assault was 100 years ago, 150 years ago. Now, you might have been able to get away with that like in the Old West, in Dodge City, like in 1872 or something like that, because it was basically lawlessness anyway. But that doesn't mean anything. Brittany says, good evening. Yes, people need to toughen up. Totally agree. Humor is healthy. Anger kills. That's right, Easley. And I can remember the old Reader's Digest going back to the 1980s. Laughter is the best medicine. Thank you. Yes, everybody give the video thumbs up as you are watching. And Sharon, you are very generous. Thank you. What Sharon has done there is hit the little super chat button down there below the chat. It's a little gray box with a dollar sign. And if you hit that, you can monetarily contribute to Unfound. And Sharon, thank you so much. And look at that little fox on there, the little picture. That's funny. Okay. I want to show this to you. I got this on Sunday. I actually met another listener of the program just like about a month ago, or however long was that? That was March 4th, right, K-Dog? I know you're listening out there. I think it was March 4th that I met K-Dog and her husband here in Tampa. And had a great time. Well, I got to meet another listener and her husband this past Sunday. In fact, they drove down. They live over in the Tampa area. They drove over here. She had bought one of the books, one of the Unfound books, a paper copy. She brought it with her, and I signed it. We sat down there in this little lounge in this building on the second floor, and we talked for about 20 minutes. I'm going to say maybe longer than that. But both this listener and her husband are former law enforcement officers. And this is what they gave me. Look at this. And so this is now displayed on my desk here where I do all of the recording or the live show for Unfound. They gave me this, and it says Department of Homeland Security, ICE, Special Agent SAC Tampa. So there you go. And I got this, so I'm displaying it prominently. It's very similar to what Dr. Telesco gave me way back in early November, kind of a little badge type of coin, remember, that she gave me? It's very much like this. This is a little bigger. Tell you what, this has some weight to it. I know it's not very big, but it has. You would not want to get hit with this if somebody threw it at you, I can assure you. So they gave me this, and it's just very, very neat. And it was a pleasure meeting them. We had a great get together. It was a pleasure meeting them, signing the book. And we talked a little bit about Unfound, how I got into doing the program, talked about a couple of the disappearances that Unfound has covered. Being that they're both in law enforcement, we talked a little bit about some things that they had experienced in their law enforcement careers. So we had a really, really great time. And I hope if one or both of them is watching or catch this video, I just want them to know how good a time I had. So thanks for coming down here driving. I think it was like an hour drive or something, but they pulled in, and we weren't going to stand out there in the parking lots. It's stupid. So we went up to the second floor. There's a table and some couches there, and it was a good time. So, I go like for a very, very long time without meeting any listeners. And then within a month, I meet a couple. It's just the way it works out sometimes. Of course, I went down, of course, to Nova Southeastern University, where I know that there are listeners down there. But I mean, not in like a school situation or a presentation situation, just listeners who wanted to meet. And I was more than happy to do so. And let's see what everybody else is saying. Boston says, I sent you PayPal. Boston, you're very kind. Thank you so much. Hello, Stitching. There she is again, giving the thumbs up. Thank you for supporting the program. Both Sharon and Boston, thank you so much. Yeah. Christy says, I'm flying into Tampa, April 10th. Is that where you are, Christy? It is where I am. Not technically. I'm technically over here in the Clearwater area. That is Hillsborough County. It takes me about a half hour to get to Tampa just because of all the stoplights, Christy, but you're coming to Tampa. Okay. That is where I am. Yes, K-Dog says yes, March 4th. It was a Friday, right, K-Dog? And that was a good time. Yeah. Cool. That was really kind. Love it. Julie's we're not getting into that, Julie. Easily slap someone with that badge, you would be able to read it on their cheek. That is true. It is not, that's not plastic. It's some kind of metal. I don't even know what it is, but it is not, either that or it's very heavy plastic. I don't know. Christy, Reddington Shores is about 15 minutes south of me. So if you'd like to get together, if you have time, we could do that. Reddington Shores is right down that way. Like I said, 15 minutes, not far at all. Stitching says, I'm trying to meet you somewhere where you need to come to Florida, Stitching. You need to come to Florida. No. Christy, Reddington Shores visiting. Christy, if you can contact me, just email me privately, unfoundpodcast@gmail.com. If you have the time, I, of course, probably will be around here in April. So maybe we can make that happen. We can make me. All right. So that was the badge. Thank you to the two people who gave me that badge this past Sunday. Thank you. Let's move on. Tomorrow, big thing going on tomorrow, being that I just mentioned Dr. Telesco. I will be getting together with her tomorrow night over Zoom for our monthly program and 7 p.m. Eastern time. And that will be on their channel, not this channel. It will be the Fischler College of Education and School of Criminal Justice. And we will be discussing, of course, I'll be doing a lot of the talking, but we will be discussing the disappearance of Jessie Ross. I had sent Grace a few different choices, different kinds of disappearances, and that was the one that she picked out. I'm thinking mainly because Jessie was a college student. Of course, she is a college professor. She has college students, and I'm guessing that that's the reason she picked that one. My perception is that Jessie's, that it's more one of the more well-known disappearances that we've covered on Unfound. I think probably Flight 370 is number 1. I'm going to say Brian Schaefer probably is number 2. Jody Husentrutz is up there as well. I know that maybe the perception is that Tom Brown's is very well known. I'm not sure his disappearance is known nationally in the United States, despite, even though it's been on a couple true crime TV shows, and we know how much attention it has gotten in the Unfound world. But I don't know if it's gotten a lot of national attention like Brian Schaefer's or Jody Husentrutz. And I would say nationally, I would think that Jessie Ross's disappearance actually is more well-known than Tom's. So I would put Jessie certainly in the top 5, maybe top 7. The most well-known disappearances that Unfound has covered. So we're going to give it another shot, give it some attention, see what everybody thinks. I think there's a few different ways that people can go when looking at Jessie's disappearance. I've already written out all my notes. I've sent them to Dr. Telesco, so she knows what I'm going to be saying. Also sent her some media, like some pictures and a map, so that she will be able to post those as I do my side of the talking. And then after, as we usually do, Dr. Telesco and I will, discuss this. And of course, she'll bring in her assistant, Brendan, who is a college student, and maybe he'll be able to give his insight as well. We do have to remember, though, Jessie disappeared like 15 and a half years ago, something like that. So I think he was 19 when he went missing, 20. So he would be like 35, 36 now. So, and of course, I hope he is out there somewhere alive. Don't know why he would have left his family and everything, but maybe that's possible. But that is the disappearance that we'll be talking about tomorrow. Jessie Ross's, once again, 7 p.m. Eastern here in the United States on Dr. Telesco's YouTube channel. But eventually, you will also be able to access it through Unfound's website, theunfoundpodcast.com, but not until after the show is over. Moving on, let's see what everybody is saying here. Easily says, come to Chicago. Everybody wants me to go places. I appreciate that, Easily. The only places I've been to Chicago are the airports. When I used to fly back and forth from Las Vegas, sometimes I would get a connecting flight in Chicago, either Midway or O'Hare, going from Las Vegas to Chicago to Pittsburgh, or Pittsburgh to Chicago to Las Vegas. That's really the only place I've ever been in Chicago. I knew that Jesse Ross won well, even over here. That does not surprise me, the real. That makes sense. The real says, I hadn't heard of Tom Brown's except through Unfound. That also makes a lot of sense. Charlotte, I saw the Tom Brown case on Disappeared or some other show. It has, Charlotte, certainly it's been featured in some other places. But like I said, I think maybe it's just because Jessie, there are, of course, no remains have been found for Jessie. And maybe because it's even a little more unexplainable than Tom's is. And I'm not covering, I did enough on Tom Brown last week. But I think if you compare them side by side, maybe people can see why Jesse's is a little more well-known than Tom's is. Maybe if just for the fact that Jesse's is 16 years old and Tom's is 6 years old, or just over 5 years old. So maybe there's that. Moving on, the new format, I mentioned it before, but I'm going to talk about it again. If you are unaware that we're starting something new, and it started this past Friday, and it was due to something that a suggestion that Sheree made to me. I don't know when it was, Sheree, maybe 6 weeks ago or longer than that. That I'm now doing a video version of the episodes. Once again, as long as the guests agree to be filmed. I can't make people want to be on video. All right. So you just have to keep that in mind. But I'll do my best to convince them to do Zoom with me. So now what happens is that I do this video over Zoom, sitting right here. It is recorded. That then becomes part of the episode. So the audio goes to the podcast, to the audio podcast on Spotify, iTunes, whatever. And then the Zoom part of it, the video, becomes part of the episode that is then played here on YouTube. In addition to that, I record myself recording the audio portion of the program. So if you watch, for example, last Friday's episode here on YouTube for the disappearance of Kimberly Wilson Talley, where you see me talking at the beginning and talking into this microphone, that's me recording it. That is not a put on. That is real. Those words that you hear me saying are being recorded into this computer, and that is what is actually then heard as the part of the audio episode. Now, how do I do that? Well, I use my phone as the camera, and it sits right over here on a tripod. And as you can tell, there are quite a bit of edits because I sometimes make some mistakes. But I just allow the camera to keep rolling the whole time. And I record my part of it, and I do each section until I get it right. And then I move that file over to this computer, and then I go in and take out the good part. Take out all the bad parts and leave the good parts in. It's no different than making a real movie, where sometimes it takes you a few takes to get it right. So that's why if you watched the video last Friday, you could tell there were little splices in there. That's because I make mistakes. I'm not as perfect as everybody makes me out to be. But I got a lot of good responses from it. A lot of thumbs up from it. I think people think that's something new. And we'll see how it goes. Maybe it's I'm hoping it's going to become very popular. I know a lot of people are already doing that. But once again, my perception is very few people do both. I've been told that Stephanie Harlow does both, and maybe one other person does both. But usually it's either it's a podcast or it's a video show. Rarely is it both. And now Unfound is doing that. How much more work is it for me? I actually timed it today because I made the audio version for Friday's episode today. How much additional work? About an hour. Not a lot. Not a lot. That's not too bad. So you can look for this Friday's episode once again on YouTube, and you'll see me sitting here speaking right into this microphone. Charlotte says, yes, Jessie's case is very unexplainable. Kathy says, Charlotte, I think Jessie's case is fairly straightforward, in my opinion. Some did a document a year ago. I watched 3 times. Well done. Yeah, Charlotte, Kathy, what do you think happened to Jessie? Okay. Moving on, being that we are getting near the end of the month, you know what that means? It means 2 things. First of all, newsletter. It will be coming out on Friday. I've not started writing it yet. I'll get to it. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I have plenty of time to work on it tomorrow. And then I'll write some of it on Friday. I'll put it all together. And all of you on the email list will get it. Now, if you're not on the email list, please contact me at unfoundpodcast@gmail.com. Give me your email address, and I will put you on the list. And you will get it probably on Friday evening. Now, you should know the newsletter is eventually put on here, right here on this YouTube channel, also on the website, but you have to wait a week for that. So what I will do is I will type out the entire newsletter. I will then record it. The email newsletter will go out to everybody on April 1st. And then next Friday, April 8th, I will release an audio version of that. But for those people, you'll just have to wait. Deborah says, I am. You are on the email list. Good for you, Deborah. Thank you. I appreciate it. So we have newsletter that I'll start working on tomorrow. I don't know how long it's going to be. You know, when it comes to the newsletter, it's a combination of like behind the scenes stuff and current stuff. And once in a while, I get up on my soapbox a little bit. Not every month, but maybe every other month or every third month, I get up on my soapbox to vent about something going on in the true crime community. Still haven't figured out what I'm going to write for this month. Probably a little bit about Spotify. Just have to figure it out. I rarely ever have writer's block, so I'm sure I'll come up with something. So be looking for that, all of you newsletter people, Friday evening. And if you want to, once again, if you want to get on the list where you're going to get some information that you're not going to get anywhere else, unfoundpodcast@gmail.com. Email me. I can make that happen. Now, because this is the end of the month, for also, what happens at the end of the month, you know what that is, and that is Unfound Now. It's been going, it's hard to believe, but I've been doing that series since the summer of 2020. Cannot believe it. But it's already done. The video's already done. And all of you who are members right here on this YouTube channel, remember this little join button right down there, you get those episodes a week early. So I will be publishing that tomorrow for all of you. And for all of you who are not members, you should be, but you're not, you're going to have to wait an additional week. So the members get things early. They get the episodes a day early. They get Unfound Now a week early. And that will be coming out tomorrow. Now, you may be wondering, what disappearance is it? What recent disappearance is it? And I think I'll tell you right now. It is the disappearance of Lindsay Shobalok from Chillicothe, Ohio, February 23rd, 2022. That is the disappearance I picked out to talk about. Of course, it would be a month and a week old. Picked it for a few different reasons. There's a lot of information out there already about her disappearance. Her disappearance lends itself to talking about a lot of general missing persons principles and theory. And maybe on top of everything else, this is not the first time that Chillicothe, Ohio has come up on Unfound. I'm pretty sure it got mentioned I'm sure it got mentioned back when we covered the disappearance of Jamie Bowman, which takes us way back, I think, to 2018. She did not go missing in Chillicothe, but Jamie has been mentioned many times. Could she be connected to Chillicothe? Because there was a documentary that was made a few years ago. Chillicothe has a reputation. It seems more than you would think, but a lot of women have gone missing or been murdered in that town, and it's not that big of a town. I think these women were connected to prostitution and to drugs. Maybe we shouldn't be surprised by some of that. Of course, Jamie Bowen was connected to that a bit. And that's the reason that many people have tried to connect her disappearance to Chillicothe. That's why it came up, the town came up way back when we covered Jamie's disappearance. And if you'll remember, I had Jamie's mother and a friend of hers who's also trying to help the family with Jamie's disappearance. They both appeared for that interview back in 2018. And I think I'm not as sure on this, but Chillicothe might have even been mentioned during the Megan Lancaster episode as well. She, of course, disappeared from Portsmouth, Ohio, which also is not far from Chillicothe. And Megan's, her demographic, unfortunately, a young woman who had an addiction. And if you remember, she also had that little black book with all of her clients in it. I think her name has also been brought up when the Chillicothe murders and disappearances of women has come up. So we've talked about Chillicothe a couple times over the last 4 years on Unfound. So now we have another woman, Lindsay Shobalok, who's also missing from that town. Now, maybe the difference is doesn't seem to be any information out there that she was a sex worker. Doesn't seem to be any information out there that she had any addictions at all, unlike these other women who have been murdered, who have gone missing in that town. So maybe that makes her disappearance a little bit different. That will be up for all of you to decide. Now, I'm sure all of you are going to go check this out if you've not heard of her disappearance, Lindsay Shobalok's, but it is on NamUs, and there's a couple really good articles about her disappearance with a lot of information. I'll be talking a little about that information. Of course, I'm going to go through a map with the Unfound Now episode, and then I will be offering some analysis of those facts that are now known about Lindsay's disappearance. So you can all be looking into that. For all of you YouTube members, you'll be getting the video tomorrow, and for everybody else, you'll have to wait till next Thursday. Kathy says regarding Jessie Ross, the river to the lake ran right by the Sheraton Hotel where Jessie's group was at. Jessie was clearly very inebriated. Feller jumped into the water. Valerie, hey, I had a question, but I did not see a post on Facebook. You know, the reason I didn't do that, Valerie, is because I'm going to be doing the Q&A episode. I do that once a year, always in April. It may be next week or the week after. I haven't decided yet. But if you'd like to ask me a question, go ahead. I just didn't post it because I'm trying to save up any questions that I'm going to get for the Q&A episode. But if you want to ask me a question right now, go ahead and do it. I will answer it right now. Charlotte, I'm so happy that you're doing that case, Ed. So you've heard about Lindsay's disappearance, Charlotte? Charlotte, yes, there was a documentary about the missing women on ID. Yeah, the missing women of Chillicothe or something like that, Charlotte. I thought it was on the FX channel. I have to tell you, I didn't think much of the documentary. In addition, it's clear to me that the woman they used as one of, like the co-hosts or a private investigator. She seems a little shady to me. So, but I did watch it way back when because I think once again because of the Jamie Bowen episode that we did that I ended up finding somehow I found that documentary online somewhere because at the time I didn't have TV at the time. So but I didn't think that the documentary was that good. And like I said, I think the choice of them using this one woman who she says she has a lot of credentials, but that's all I really want to say about it. I just thought that was a poor choice on the producer's part. Valerie says, oh, okay, just wondering, why have you no pets? Have you ever had one? I can answer that, Valerie. Christy, my grandparents from the Athens, Ohio area close to Chillicothe spent many summers in Chillicothe as a child. Isn't that right, Christy? Interesting. Thank you for that. Okay. Yeah, it's weird. It's not that big of a place, but it does seem to have an inordinate amount of women go missing or get murdered there. Why that is, I don't know. Valerie, going back to your question. Okay, just wondering why you have no pets. Have you ever had one? I have had, well, I don't know, Valerie, if I can say I had them. We had 2 dogs growing up in my house in Leechburg, Pennsylvania, Valerie. In about 1981, my parents ended up getting a West Highland White Terrier named Fluffy. And Fluffy was not a very good dog. He bit several people. I really think that the dog had been abused before we got him. And he bit me on the face once, like right here. What had happened was I was laying down, I must have been 12, 13 or something like that. And I was laying down on the living room floor on the carpet. And he was like across the room, just sitting there lying down or something. And I kicked my foot out and I stubbed my toe on the hearth, like the stone of the fireplace. He came running over, bit me right on my face. Was it this side or this side? I can't even remember now. And because of that, we got rid of him the first time and took him to some shelter. And mother couldn't take it. Didn't like that we got rid of that dog. Even though the dog had bit her son, she wanted to take the dog back. That's a true story. So my dad was forced to go back over to the shelter and take Fluffy back. He then proceeded to, during a New Year's Eve party, it must have been from 1983 to 1984, had a bunch of people at the house, ended up biting the daughter of a friend of my parents. Her name was Janine. She got bit by Fluffy. And that wasn't enough to get rid of him. And the final straw was, I don't know, sometime once again in 1984, I was up in bed, going to bed. Fluffy came up the stairs, walked over to my bed and just kind of sat there and was looking at me. I put my hand down to touch him and he bit me on my hand right here on my left hand. That was it. Gone. Gone. That was the final straw. So that was the first dog. His name was Fluffy. I don't know whatever happened to him. I'm guessing they had to put him to sleep. But I think he had been abused. And what's weird is my aunt and uncle ended up getting a West Highland White Terrier. It wasn't, his name was Wesley. He was perfectly fine, but he had all sorts of weird ailments. His eyes didn't have tear ducts. So they had to put stuff in his eyes. You know, I think probably that he had been bred, like the mother and father might genetically have been too close to each other or something. He wasn't mean or anything. He was just kind of a weird dog, frankly. His name was Wesley. My aunt and uncle from New Jersey had him, and he was just kind of a weird dog. But the second dog that we got, his name was Fred, and he was fantastic. He was a wiener dog, miniature wiener dog, red, all red. Not one of those like long wiener dogs, but a miniature, still purebred, but shorter. He was about 10 pounds, and he was fantastic. Fantastic dog. Love them. Still, wiener dogs to this day are still my favorite dogs. Even they're a little yippy, and they're very stubborn, and they're sneaky, as Fred was. Fantastic dog. Did not like other dogs so much, but loved people. Loved to snuggle, loved to jump up in people's laps, loved to love. It wasn't enough for Fred to just lie beside you. He kind of had to lean in to you. He loved to go fishing. I loved to, like, you'd throw like a bobber out into the lake. He'd jump right into the water, go after it, bring it back. He was crazy. Fred was a crazy, crazy dog. And, some of the times we were out in a fishing boat out up in Canada that he almost gave himself heat stroke because he would just kept running around the boat, running around, looking for the fish in the water, jumping into the water as we're bringing the fish in. He's jumping into the water to get the fish to bring it back. Crazy dog. Loved them. Spectacular. Buddy unfortunately got some sort of autoimmune disease at about the age of 11, and it's happened very quickly. And we had to put him to sleep, and I even remember the date. It was December 10th, 1995. So those are the only two pets that I've really had, and I didn't have them. Really, my parents were in charge. I mean, I'd walk. We had a big yard. There was no reason to walk the dog. You just let Fred out and he'd just go run around in the yard and do whatever he wanted to do. But I wasn't really responsible for getting these dogs or anything else. So they weren't really mine. They were like ours. For me, I love animals. Animals love me. I just don't like the work. I have no patience. I just have none. To train a dog, house train a dog, take the dog outside. Is there something wrong with the dog? Take the dog to the vet and all this. I just don't have the time for it. I just don't. I just don't have the time for it. And plus, here where I live, I'm not allowed to have pets anyway. Where I live down in Madeira Beach, not allowed to have pets there. All the places I lived in Las Vegas, not allowed to have pets there. And I'm fine with that. Love pets. When I'm out disc golfing, people walking their dogs, I'd much rather talk to the dogs than I would to the people. But it's just too much work. Just too much stuff. And I think a lot of people get animals, especially if they live alone because they're lonely and all that. I'm just not the type of person. I just really don't get lonely. Hence the reason I'm single at 51. Whereas some people need that. And even my dad, he's talked about getting a dog. And I'm like, you don't want to do that. It's nice in theory, horrible in practice for my dad. But there's the answer to your question about Valerie. I think that surely answers the question. I had a great time with Fred, and I've lived with people who had pets, and that was fine, but I just don't want any responsibility for them. Drug activity, Christy says, in Chillicothe, but it was small town when I was there. Never knew the drugs, probably was around then too. Kathy, Lake Michigan, adjacent to Grand Sheraton to the east. Yeah, yay. Mom, I'd have gotten Fluffy back too. Fluffy the Outlaw. What kind of dog was he? Fluffy was a West Highland White Terrier. Fred was a miniature purebred Dachshund. It's fantastic. Kathy, it's so sorry to hear about that. Westy who bit you. My son was bit by a golden retriever. Wow. Has been afraid of dogs. That did not affect my attitude or fear toward dogs, Kathy. Um, it's really really the only time I've ever been bitten by a dog in my life, ever. Christy said I had a Fred dog too. Sheree is letting us all know Naomi Irion found deceased. Very sad. Very, very sad. Thank you for letting us know, Sheree. Sharon Sam, I'm from Athens too, and we never wanted to go through Chillicothe. Wow. Jasmine says, yeah, me too. I don't want to take care of them either. I love dogs and had one when I was a kid. Me and you, Jasmine. Christy says, so where I am, do I get Panama news? No, too far down the coast, Christy. Panama City up in the Panhandle is far away. If you could take it by boat, you just go right across the Gulf, and it's not that far, but by car, it's a long ways. Yeah. Charlotte says, I love cats more than dogs. I like cats, but dogs are still number one. Yeah. So, yeah, if people don't know, Naomi Irion was a young woman about a week ago. She was working at a Panasonic plant in northern Nevada. She'd gone somewhere early in the morning before she went to work, and seemingly she got carjacked. And they seemingly caught the guy who did it, and they were still looking for her, and it seems that she was found deceased. Very sad. Very sad. Sheree says, my dog Scout listens to all my problems. Poor Scout. I think that's pretty common, Sheree. I think that's one of the reasons people get pets, so they have somebody to talk to. Whereas I have all of you to talk to. Christy asking because my niece who graduated from OU is the TV journalist. Wow. Congratulations to her, Christy. Kathy says, yes, we talk to our dog owners, talk to our dogs all the time. Once again, I think on top of everything else, when it comes to pets, is that, if you want to go somewhere, you have to make arrangements. My brother and his wife had a dog, Kobe, that lived for 15, 16 years. Dog died 2 years ago now. Man, time's flying. But they haven't gotten another dog. Why? Because they want the freedom to be able to go and do stuff instead of having to ask somebody to babysit the dog, which I did quite a bit. Not that I minded it that much, but I have to be honest, once it got toward the end and like that last year where Kobe was having some issues with this and that, I started thinking, what happens if I'm dog sitting him and something happens? What if he goes into cardiac arrest or has this happen? I don't want to deal with it. So I just had to tell him, I'm not dog. I just don't want to do that anymore. It just weirds me out. Healthy dogs, I'll do that. But once you get up to 14, 15 years old, who knows what could happen to the dog? And I don't want to be put in a position where I am going to be stuck with having to make the decision, yeah, you got to put this dog to sleep. I'm not doing that. Sheree says, yes, it's definitely a big responsibility. I wish more people understood that and factored that into their decision. Certainly a lot, and certainly not something that I want to do. Okay, moving on. Jason Landry, there was another search, big search, this past weekend, and once again, nothing was found. I think the search was on the 27th, so that would be Sunday. And I think 100 square acres within the vicinity of where his car was found. It was searched again. Nothing. Hard to understand. I keep saying the same thing with it. I continue to believe that he is in that area. Why his remains are being missed, I can't say. People make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. It's just hard to imagine him running off, but maybe that's what he did. It's very sad. If Jason Landry is alive, I think it's going to be one of the biggest surprises in recent disappearance history. I hope of course he is. I don't know what would have happened to him to cause him to go and start a new life, whether it was amnesia or this was all planned or whatever else. I don't know the circumstances in which that could have or would have happened. I certainly hope that it did. I think that if his parents were to find out, you know what, Jason's alive, but he's just walking out of his life and going to start a new one. Of course, that would be very disheartening to his parents, obviously. But I think knowing that he was alive, that there wasn't foul play, that he wasn't out in the middle of nowhere and, died of hypothermia or something, I think that probably there would be some solace in that. I think that they would rather have him alive and than in just moving on with his life and for whatever else, putting his former life behind him, than somehow knowing that he was deceased. Pretty sure. So it's a stumper, but I think it's going to be solved. And I think it's going to be like Brandon Lawson's. It's going to be some piece of property that wasn't searched for whatever reason. And that's where Jason's remains are going to be found. And being that we were talking about head injuries earlier in this show regarding the slap, it's the same thing. Head injury that could lead to death. And that's where there's nothing that has changed my mind regarding Jason's disappearance to this point. Nothing that I've seen to make me think otherwise. If I change my mind, I'll let you know. But so far, nothing that I know about his disappearance. It's still the same attitude that I had when I talked about his disappearance as an Unfound Now. Remember, that was not a regular episode. That was an Unfound Now that I originally did. And then John Lorden and I worked together on that episode together where he interviewed Jason's father. That was an Unfound Now episode from January of 2021. And now it's become a disappearance that I think fairly well known, not just in Texas, but across the United States. For sure. Valerie says, for sure. I went to Disneyland, paid for boarding 2 dogs for a week. It's pricey. Yeah, that's why you got to have some friends who will gladly do it for you for free, Valerie. Like I used to do for my brother and his wife. I got to stay at their house and everything, and that was kind of cool. And I was happy to do it. But like I said, once dogs start getting old, then I start worrying. I don't want to have to make some life or death decision for the dog. Hey, Italiano. Mambo. Hey, Mambo Italiano. Hey, Mambo Italiano. Italiano, how are you? Hello, all. I'm new here, but I listen to the podcast faithfully. Well, Italiano, I think you're new here, and I love hearing that. And thank you for joining in. Good to see you. And I don't know if you've been listening this whole time or just jumping in right now. Either way, good to have you. Thanks for making time on your Wednesday night or Thursday morning. Kathy, Jason was unclothed besides his head injury. It was December 2. It certainly was, Kathy. All right. Have less than a half hour, but there are a couple items that I want to cover very quickly before we finish up at roughly around 11 o'clock tonight. First of all, I've talked about this before, but I'm going to give it another shot. What is going on with all of these missing people being found in their cars and water? I know many of you know that there is this group, this channel, this business. It's a combination of all of it, called Adventures with Purpose, who over the past year have just done amazing work. I don't know any of those people. We've tried to get them onto the program, but that's a totally different story. What is going on here? How is it that a group of people can just come along and suddenly start finding these people in their cars? And of course, we know, I don't think there's anything underhanded going on here. This isn't some sort of false flag operation or anything like that. Of course, we don't believe that anybody in Adventures of Purpose had anything to do with any of these missing people. And in fact, a lot of these people and their cars are found, decades ago. But how is it that they are making this seem so easy? And I'm not saying it is easy. You have to remember, you're only seeing part of what they do. You're probably not seeing maybe all the failures that they have. And I'm guessing they have some. I don't know. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but I'm going to guess that they have looked at some disappearances where people in cars went missing and they went to a particular area, a lake, a river, went in there, didn't find anything. I'm going to guess that has happened. Nobody's perfect. But how can it be that these guys, and maybe there's women too, this group is having so much success? Well, we've kind of touched upon this. Although we have not covered that many disappearances where people in their cars went missing. Now, coincidentally, this Friday, we will be talking about a disappearance where a person and his car went missing, and they're still missing almost 40 years later. Not long ago, we covered the disappearance of Audrey Herron. She and her SUV, I think it was a Jeep, they went missing in New York, still unsolved. But we know this is a very uncommon type of disappearance. As I continue to state, it's about 2%. 2% of all disappearances have a person and the vehicle going missing together and remaining missing. But I think what Adventures with Purpose is showing is how little work is done on these disappearances. I think that that's what they're, not only is Adventures with Purpose illustrating that they're pretty good at looking at where a person was last seen, where they might have been headed, and started looking at maps. Well, they could be in this lake, or they could be in this river, or maybe they missed this bridge. They're obviously excellent at doing that. That's certainly something that they've displayed. The other thing that, though, they are displaying is how little work law enforcement is willing to put into these disappearances. We have to start asking ourselves, these people are making it look so easily. Why didn't law enforcement do this back when these disappearances actually happened? Why is it that they just didn't go, I'm sure they know a local diver who would have, just given a couple bucks. Hey, could you go look in this river? Could you go look in this lake? Could you go look, this place just for us? Put in a couple hours, just see what you find. If nothing, no big deal. Thank you for trying out. Why don't they do this? It's exasperating. And so I give Adventures with Purpose so much credit in this area. Now, of course, I've talked about it, but I talk about it in a totally different way. Once again, why? Because we don't cover that many missing persons cases with cars and people. We just don't. Not that we're avoiding it. It's just not that common. But what do we do here? We talk about how police want to blow off disappearances that involve addicts, prostitutes, people who are in trouble with the law. Well, you have to realize something. Most of these people who went missing in these cars who are now found, they were none of that. Most of these people are people without addictions, people without criminal records. They weren't drinking, driving. Maybe some of them were, but not all of them. And still, law enforcement did not want to go that little bit extra. Instead, they just want to say, well, we just don't know what happened. And they went on with their day. And now we know all they had to do was go about this much further. And a lot of these disappearances would have been solved years ago. This is why I continue to say there is a problem with, there's an attitude problem. I think this is what Adventures with Purpose continues to show every time they find one of these cars in a river, in a lake. They illustrate how this very, 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 I just want to say it again, very specific type of disappearance can be solved if people are willing to just look at a map and say, you know what? It's kind of hard to make a car disappear. Maybe it went into this river. It's disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting. There's just not enough work done. There just wasn't enough work done on these types of disappearances. Now, we have to remember, once again, this is a very specific type. This is not an individual going into a river like maybe like Shane Feld did or Jake Lachelet did, or, we've covered maybe, of course, Tiffany Daniels maybe went into the Gulf of Mexico. Maybe J.R. Molahan went into the Atlantic Ocean. Who knows? We're not talking about disappearances such as that. We're talking person and car together. But so I give them all the credit in the world for exposing something that I've been talking about, is that there's just not enough work being done. And it would, and in my perception, once again, I'm not there. I realize they probably only show what they want people to see. I'm sure they have a lot of failures. If they don't want to show those, fine by me. That's what they're doing. I do what I do. But they're having enough success to show that it's embarrassing how law enforcement treats these missing persons cases. I don't know if I don't know if that's coming across to the people who actually watch their channel, but that's what hits me every time I see them in the news. And it seems like it's like once a month that they're going into some river or lake and finding something, maybe once a month. And that's spectacular. But automatically, I think it's not like Adventures with Purpose has some crystal ball. It's not like they have some sixth sense. It's not like they can see the future or can see into the past or anything like that. They're just making some very logical choices. And I don't know if they have any, I think for the most part, they're strangers to all of these areas. Surely local law enforcement knows the roads and lakes and ponds better than Adventures with Purpose does. And still, it's AWP that has solved these very specific types of disappearances. If Adventures with Purpose maybe gets into a different area, like we do at Unfound, where we cover all different types of disappearances, I'm guessing that they're not going to have that level of success. But because it gets a lot harder quicker. But for what they specialize in, they're doing a fantastic job. And they're making those law enforcement departments who are responsible for these disappearances, who are doing this, twiddling their thumbs. Can you see that? Twiddling their thumbs. They're making them look like idiots. And I'm happy about that. Just so you know. What's everybody saying? Sheree says, somebody just finally committed all their time and effort to looking into bodies of water, not going to talk about anything else than their successes. That's right. Let's just keep it at that, Sheree. You're right. Somebody decided that they were going to do that. But I think what we're saying though, also, Sheree, is it shouldn't be up to some private group to do this. It just shouldn't be. It just shouldn't be. It should have been automatic back at the time. We had scuba technology and sonar technology going back to World War II. Charlotte, I watched a video the other day where a man had seen a car in the water from the air. The authorities, yeah, that happens. That happens too, Charlotte. You're right. Sure, right. When all you do is one thing, you either succeed or fail. When you are report on successes, then you're always winning. Yeah, that is gladly they're successful. Mm-hmm. Boston says they have more leeway to search. Yep. Just they've happened upon something, and I can't argue with success. I'm certainly happy for all the families. But who should really even more sad and ticked off than they are all the other people who have missing loved ones who didn't disappear in cars and didn't go into water. They're now seeing, wow, if law enforcement didn't even take the time to go into this lake that was like right down the street from where this person in his car was last seen, then what kind of work do I think is getting done on my missing loved one from 1987? It's very sad. It's very, very sad. Kirmoth says, yeah, it's like Parabon Nanolabs. We hear about nothing but successes, but I'm still skeptical. And Kirmoth, I know I would feel really smart if I knew what Parabon Nanolabs was, but your point is probably true. I'm not doubting what you're saying. I just wish I knew what Parabon Nanolabs is. Once again, I'm not criticizing. I'm sure they're failing. I don't even care. We fail here too. But that they're having any success shows that for that particular type of disappearance, it's not as hard to figure out as law enforcement has led everybody to believe. So that they do that for that particular type of disappearance, we must then think, you know what? They're probably doing that for all the other kinds of disappearance. It's just too tough. Oh, it's too tough to track down these people. It's that disappearance is 20 years old. I can't go and find somebody's phone number now. You're crazy. It's disgusting. And I know what they're saying. Will you come and do, sir and madam who are in law enforcement, you're the ones who chose to go into this. Okay. It's your responsibility. Just like my responsibility is reporting on these disappearances and trying to track down people to talk to and doing the best interviews that I can. And I take it very, very seriously. This is, and I know I get criticism and all of that, but this is what I chose to do. You chose to do what you do. You do what you do. I'll do what I do, and we'll both be fine. It just doesn't seem that you're doing what you should be doing. That's the perception. And now here is a group that is showing it's just not a perception, it's true. Kirma says Parabon Nanolabs are the ones who do genetic genealogy. Oh, okay. They solved some old cases with their tech. Okay. Thank you, Kirma. I kept saying Kirma. Kirnoth. That's an RN in the middle, not an M. Man, my eyes must be going. Kirnoth. Thank you for that. And one more story before we finish up tonight with this coming Friday's episode. And that is new information regarding the Delphi murders. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but I think it feels like we've been here before. Of course, Liberty German and Abigail Williams were murdered on February 14th, Valentine's Day, which I think should mean something. 2017, we passed the five-year anniversary. And there was a recent article regarding the social media account called Anthony Shots, SHOTS. There's like a little underline between the Anthony space Shots. It was a media account that is fake. And it turns out that, was it Liberty, who at some point had some contact with this fake media account. And the reason this is important is because this fake media account has been connected to a guy who has also was in contact with other underage girls, maybe even to the point of trying to track down where they live and maybe going to their houses and being a peeping Tom. Let me just read some of this to you. The Anthony Shots social media account that has been connected to the Delphi murder case was also part of an investigation into a peeping incident, according to recently uncovered transcripts. Keegan Klein ran the Anthony Shots account, and police said he used the account to solicit nude pictures of underage girls. Transcripts of an interview police did with Klein revealed that the account was interacting with Libby German, Liberty German, the day she and Abby Williams were killed. Those transcripts also reveal that a victim of a peeping incident was messaging Anthony Schatz the day before she caught a man looking into her bedroom window. A middle school age girl, was exchanging messages with Anthony Schatz and was looking to hook up with the guy she thought was running that account. According to the transcripts, the girl sent her address to Anthony Schatz the day after she was getting off the school bus when she spotted a guy in a ski mask peering into her bedroom window. The detective questioning Klein said, data shows that the day before the peeping incident, his phone shows that he searched the girl's family on Facebook. The peeping incident happened just days after the Delphi murders. Klein denies that he was the person peering into the girl's bedroom window. It doesn't look to me like there's proof for sure that he was the person peeping through the windows, former FBI agent Doug Counds said. Counds was an FBI agent for more than 20 years, but has not worked on the Delphi case. So once again, why is he being asked about it? Counds said the transcripts have provided a lot of interesting information about what investigators know, but not much of that information is circumstantial. Even though Klein and his father, Tony Klein, have been on the radar of the Delphi investigators, the transcripts prove nothing. All this stuff is great. You still need the key piece that can take you to court, and then all that will matter, Counds said. Investigators eventually raided the Klein home in Peru, Ohio, nearly 2 weeks after the Delphi murders or is it Indiana? And the peeping incident. That raid led to numerous child pornography charges for Keegan. Still, despite what transcripts show, Keegan told a reporter, officials don't know if his father had access to that Anthony Schatz account. It seems to me like there's a lot of pieces around the periphery, but they're still looking for that one that goes in the middle, Counds said. Neither Keegan nor his father have been charged in connection to the Delphi murders. The child pornography charges appear to be Keegan's first run-in with the law. However, his father, Tony, whose real name is Jerry, was charged with battery resulting in injury in 2005 and felony theft in the late 1990s, according to online court records. Of course, we've had a lot of red herrings regarding the Delphi murders. How many mug shots have we seen so far? 5 or 6, where they put the sketch of the description and the person beside, and we're like, oh yeah, that looks like the guy, but all 5 look like the sketch. Now, it could be in this situation. It doesn't seem to me like the son looks like the sketch, but maybe the father does, but I'm not sure if that means anything. However, what I will tell you is that this is kind of how I visualize what happened here. And I've stated this before when information has come out about these girls' murders, is that this seems to be a situation where one of them was conversing, messaging with some guy who was pretending to be 14, but was probably 44. And they went to meet him. And that's the guy you see there. And he killed them. And what lends even more credence to this is that we have to look at the date, February 14th, Valentine's Day. Is that a coincidence? I'm not sure if these Klein guys did it or not, but this does fall in line with what I've thought about their murders for a long time. Almost since they happened, is that this was a luring type of situation. Why? But if this is what Libby was saying, that she was conversing back and forth with this Anthony Schatz and she wanted to meet him, then it's not hard to believe that they showed up that day to meet some guy or boy they thought was their age, and it wasn't. What unfortunately this opens up, though, is the possibility that this might not have been the only predator that Libby or Abigail was contacting or being fooled by, however you want to put it. So I don't know if this is going to lead anywhere or not. Of course, we have a recording of the voice. They'll probably do that. They might do some DNA or whatever else, but maybe this will lead somewhere. But we've been here before. It seemed like, oh yeah, that guy definitely did it. He has child porn charges. He's a sexual predator. He had to register as a sex offender, and then it goes nowhere. So this very well could be the same thing. Boston, Ed, your eye for details apparent on all the cases that you cover. Thank you. I love the King episodes, long episodes. Yeah, thank you. Lumby, you keep doing what you're doing. And I appreciate you and your service. Lumby, you must be new. I don't recognize your name. If you're tuning in for the first time, thank you. Thank you for finding this live show on Wednesday nights. Good to hear from you. Charlie Bravo, Cherie, I know for sure. I thought I had it all figured out once. Yeah, it's just how things go sometimes, Cherie. You think you know it, and then you don't. Charlotte says, I wish they could solve it. It is so sad. Yeah. I just keep coming back to, and none of you are going to be surprised by this because many of you have been listening to Unfound for a long time and you watch this live show. It's just a little hard for me to believe that two girls show up somewhere and there just happens to be a guy there that kills them. And once again, they weren't at a mall. They weren't in a movie theater. They weren't downtown in a city where, of course, there are more people around and we might have some predators just hanging out. You know, they got dropped off at some park or wherever it was, and there just happened to be a guy there that murdered them. It just seems to me that this guy knew they were going to be there. That's what would make sense to me. Now, why he killed him? Maybe just felt like killing somebody that day. I don't know. So there are a lot of articles about this particular topic that have come out within the last few days. So if you hadn't seen that, I wanted to make you aware of it. All right, let's move on to this Friday's disappearance. It's the disappearance of Harry Milligan. We're going back to the 1980s. July 1st, 1984, I was on the verge of turning 14. 1 month from then, I would have been turning 14. Crazy. Which means I would have been in my first year of senior league baseball at the time this disappearance happened. Crazy. This disappearance happened in Albia, Iowa, Albia. The guest for this episode is Harry Milligan's younger brother, Mark Milligan. It was done with video through Zoom. And the title of this episode is Bosom Buddies. Going to have a little discussion about friends in relation to disappearances. I will be doing a map video. I'm still a little disheartened that more people do not watch these map videos. I think that they are very, very important to these disappearances, but I'm going to keep doing them. I'm going to be doing a map analysis because what happened, allegedly, is that Harry was out that night. He had gone to a bar. He allegedly had been in a poker game. He allegedly won some money. But really, the overall details of June 30th into the early morning hours of July 1st, still a little murky. And then at about 4:30 in the morning, Harry is with these guys who he's known with for a long time. They're cruising around. He gets dropped off at his car, which was parked in Albia. Gets into his car. The friends see him leave. They believe he's going home, which is not a long drive. However, it might have been that he was drinking and driving. He never ends up there. Never seen again. And being that we were just talking about Adventures with Purpose, both Harry and his car, a 1977 Cutlass, are still missing. And the big issue is that if he took the proper way home, there really aren't any ponds or rivers or lakes that he would have been driving by. And even so, some of them have been searched in the general area. Nothing has been found. But the issue is that these friends of his who he knew for a long time, Harry was 21 years old, had known them since elementary school. It seems, and you'll have to make this decision for yourself, it seems that their stories maybe don't quite all match up. Could that be a factor of maybe because they were all drinking that night? Could be a factor maybe they're suspects. Could be a factor that, you know, by the time they were questioned, they really didn't remember. Those are all possibilities. But once again, the disappearance of Harry Milligan, Milligan, from Elbia, Iowa, July 1st, 1984. The guest is his younger brother, Mark Milligan. And the title of the episode is Bosom Buddies. And this is, once again, one of those 2% disappearances where the person and the person's car are both missing. That's all I got tonight. So what did we do tonight? We talked about disc golf, of course, chicken wings, of course, the slap, did a nice little dissertation, got up in my soapbox regarding that. Remember, guys, don't date women who expect you to go to jail for them. Our thoughts and prayers and hopes continue to be with the people of Ukraine. The Kimberly Wilson tally poll, that badge that I got, I'm going to show that one more time. Right there. Dr. Telesco's show tomorrow, the new format, the newsletter, Unfound Now, Jason Landry. Of course, we found out that Naomi Irion's remains have been found. Very sad. Talked about what Adventures with Purpose, what they're really exposing about law enforcement's work on disappearances. Talked about the Delphi murders. Finished it up with this Friday's episode, The Disappearance of Harry Milligan. That's all I got. Thank you for the contributions tonight. Had some new viewers in here tonight, which is spectacular. I wanted to reading what some people have said here. It's there's Charlene from Ireland. Not sure about the U.S. moved our clocks forward last week, and I must say I truly appreciate it. Thank you, Charlene. You're very kind. Lumbia, I came over from John when you three made with John, but it is my first time commenting. You mean John Lorden? That's great, Lumbie. Thank you for commenting. Good to see you. Feel free to comment anytime. Thank you, Kathy. Look at all the emojis coming from Cherie because she is a member on the join button right there. And everybody keep your head on a swivel. Deborah, thank you for becoming a member tonight. That's all I got. My voice is even feeling a little rough now. All of you have a great night, great day. You will hear and or see me on Friday for the episode. Good night.